Death waits for no one. It strikes unexpectedly, often without warning. It's a shadow that looms over us all, an inevitable reality we rarely acknowledge until it's too late. We live in a world where most people fear the very thought of death, pushing it away from their minds, as if pretending it doesn't exist can somehow delay its arrival. But here's the hard truth. Death doesn't care about your denial. It waits for no one, and it can come for any one of us, at any time, without a single moment's notice. But what if there was a way to recognize the signs before it's too late? What if we could spot the subtle clues our body gives us? The ones that often go unnoticed until they're staring us in the face. The reality is, your body is constantly speaking to you, whispering hints about what's to come. And modern medicine has uncovered these biological clues, yet they are rarely discussed until it's too late. But today, we'll uncover them. Today, we'll explore 5 of the most reliable signs that death may be approaching. These aren't dramatic, mystical tales, nor are they some ominous prophecy. These are biological realities, backed by science, that your body tries to communicate. They are signals your body sends out, quietly, and if you know how to listen, you can prepare yourself, and your loved ones, for what's to come. Imagine this. You wake up one morning, feeling a little off. Maybe there's a subtle change in your energy levels or a persistent pain that's been lingering for days. You brush it off, thinking it's nothing. But what if, just what if, that feeling is more than just a minor discomfort? What if it's your body's way of telling you that something is wrong, something bigger, something much more serious? What if it's trying to alert you to the fact that the end is closer than you think? It's easy to ignore the small signals. We all do it. The body sends out so many warnings that, in the hustle of daily life, they can easily be overlooked. But the truth is, some of these signs are incredibly important. They aren't the usual signs of tiredness or stress that we all experience. No, these signs are different. They are the signs your body gives when it's trying to say, something's wrong, pay attention, and if we listen, we might just gain the power to change the course of our lives. Let's dive into the first sign. The first sign that death may be approaching is one that many of us are too familiar with: fatigue. But not just the regular tiredness that comes from a busy day. This is a deep, unrelenting exhaustion that doesn't go away, no matter how much rest you get. It's that overwhelming sense of weariness that makes it hard to get out of bed, hard to focus, and even harder to find the energy to do the things you love. This isn't the "I stayed up too late" kind of tiredness. No, this is something more serious. It's a sign that your body's systems may be slowing down, that your heart or lungs might be struggling. It's your body's way of telling you it's not functioning the way it should. And then there's the second sign, the subtle shift in your appetite. We all experience hunger and loss of appetite from time to time. But when it's more than just a fleeting moment, when it becomes a pattern, that's when you should take notice. If you're constantly feeling full, even when you haven't eaten, or if food just doesn't seem appealing anymore, It could be a sign that something is wrong. It's your body's way of signaling that it's struggling to process nutrients, that it's not operating the way it used to. And let me tell you, that's not a small thing. Next, we have pain, unexplained, persistent pain. We've all had aches and pains at one point or another. But when the pain becomes constant, unyielding, and inexplicable, it's a sign that your body is struggling, whether it's in your chest, your abdomen, or somewhere else. This pain is often a signal that something much deeper is going wrong inside. It's your body's way of saying, "Pay attention, something is about to change." Then, there's the change in your breathing, shortness of breath, a feeling of not being able to get enough air. This can be a sign that your heart, lungs, or other critical organs are not functioning properly. It's a warning that your body might be losing the ability to perform the basic functions it once did with ease. This is a sign that should never be ignored. Finally, the fourth sign that death may be approaching is a sudden change in mental clarity. If you start noticing yourself becoming forgetful, confused, or unable to think clearly, it could be a sign that something is wrong. This isn't just aging. This is a sign that your body is experiencing something serious. Perhaps your organs aren't receiving the oxygen they need, or there's a deeper underlying health issue that needs to be addressed. And so, I ask you, are you listening to your body? Are you aware of these signs? Or are you just brushing them off, thinking that they'll go away on their own? The reality is, by recognizing these warning signs, you empower yourself. You gain the chance to make informed decisions, to prepare, to take action before it's too late. Modern medicine can offer solutions, but only if we're aware enough to seek them out. By acknowledging these signs early, we can find the strength to make the changes necessary to extend our time, improve our health, and maybe even change the course of our lives. So, as we continue in this video, I encourage you to think deeply about these signs. Don't ignore them. Don't push them aside. Instead, use them as a tool to guide you, to help you navigate the uncertain path ahead. It's never too late to take control of your health, to make the changes that could save your life. The question is, are you ready to listen? Are you ready to act before it's too late? Let's dive deeper into these signs and discover what your body is really trying to tell you. Sleep is one of the most vital functions of our body. It's how we rest, recharge, and heal. But what if I told you that the way you sleep could signal something much more serious than just fatigue or stress? What if the changes in your sleep patterns weren't just signs of a busy week, but were instead an early indication that death may be approaching? As unsettling as it may sound, sleep changes are among the most common and overlooked signs that the body sends when it's nearing the end. The way our bodies respond to sleep can reveal much about our overall health. And when something is deeply wrong, our internal rhythms begin to falter. This isn't just about tossing and turning at night or waking up feeling unrested. These sleep changes are profound, persistent, and most often, they happen without warning. Let's first look at the more common sleep disturbance: profound exhaustion. Imagine a state where sleep becomes all-consuming. You wake up in the morning, feeling as if you haven't slept at all. So, you go back to bed, thinking it's just a one-time thing. But it keeps happening, day after day, until you find yourself spending 14 to 16 hours a day in bed, struggling to stay awake. This exhaustion isn't like the tiredness you feel after a long week of work or stress. This is different. It's a weight that presses down on you, as though your body is trying to tell you it can't keep up anymore. And the strange thing is, no matter how much you sleep, it doesn't seem to help. You still wake up exhausted, and the cycle continues. This isn't just a random phase. This exhaustion could be a sign that your body is beginning to shut down. It could be the first whisper from your body that its systems are struggling to keep up with the demands of life. It's not something that happens overnight, but rather, it's a slow, gradual process. This type of sleep disturbance could occur months before death, and it's often a sign that something deeper is happening, something that's affecting your internal body clock. On the flip side, we also have terminal restlessness. While some people become so exhausted that sleep is all they can do, others experience the opposite, a restless, constant need to move, fidget, or get up in the middle of the night. Their sleep becomes fragmented, and they may wake up frequently, feeling unsettled and agitated. These restless nights can be just as alarming, signaling that something is wrong in the body, even if the person doesn't know it yet. This restlessness can manifest in various ways. You might find yourself unable to stay in bed, constantly shifting positions, or pacing the room. Some describe it as an intense urge to keep moving, as if their body can't find peace. The restless nights aren't just isolated occurrences, they're a pattern, something that keeps happening over time. It's as though your body is telling you that it's getting ready to let go, but it can't seem to settle into the calm of sleep. Instead, it remains in a state of agitation, unable to rest. In both cases, whether it's exhaustion or restlessness, the changes in sleep are not transient. These shifts don't go away after a few nights of rest or after taking a few days off work. They persist for weeks, signaling that something much deeper is at work. And here's the key difference. These aren't just temporary disruptions. When the body is nearing the end, the changes in sleep are profound, persistent, and impossible to ignore. It's like the body's final way of telling you that it's struggling to keep going. So, if you or someone you know has noticed these sleep changes, whether it's sleeping more than usual or experiencing restlessness at night, it's time to pay attention. This is not a normal part of life. It's not just aging. It's a signal that should not be ignored. Our bodies are complex, but they also communicate with us in ways that we can understand, if we're willing to listen. Now, I know that the idea of sleep disturbances signaling death can be frightening. It's not easy to think about, and it's even harder to face the reality that our time may be limited. But here's the truth. Acknowledging these changes early on can give you the power to make informed decisions. It can give you the chance to seek out medical advice, to prepare yourself and your loved ones for what's to come, and to make peace with the inevitable. We don't talk about death enough. It's a subject we avoid, and that avoidance can lead us to ignore the signals our bodies send. But if we can learn to recognize these signs, we can take control of the situation. We can choose how to face the end, instead of being blindsided by it. And sometimes, just knowing what's coming can provide a sense of relief, a sense of preparedness that allows us to make the most of the time we have left. Empowering yourself with knowledge is the key to facing these sleep changes head-on. Don't let fear stop you from listening to your body. Take note of these shifts in your sleep patterns and trust your instincts. If you feel that something is wrong, don't wait for it to escalate. Seek help, take action. You owe it to yourself and your loved ones to be aware and to act before it's too late. These sleep changes may seem like small, insignificant shifts, but they are powerful clues. They are your body's way of telling you that something isn't right. And if you pay attention, they can guide you towards the next steps. The choice is yours. Will you ignore the signs, or will you take action and empower yourself with the knowledge you need to navigate the inevitable? The answer may not be easy, but recognizing the signs can make all the difference. Imagine waking up one day and stepping on the scale, only to find that you've lost a significant amount of weight, even though you haven't made any changes to your diet or exercise routine. At first, you might brush it off, thinking it's just a fluke or a temporary issue. But what if I told you that unexplained weight loss, especially when accompanied by a complete lack of appetite, could be one of the most telling signs that death is approaching? This type of weight loss, known as cachexia, isn't like the typical weight loss we see from dieting or exercise. It's different, it's gradual, it's involuntary, and it happens even when you're barely moving. This isn't something you can control or reverse by simply eating more or trying to work out. Your body is no longer using energy the way it used to. Instead, it starts conserving energy for the most vital functions, those that keep you alive, like your heart, lungs, and brain. And while this may sound alarming, the truth is that unexplained weight loss is one of the most powerful signals your body sends when it's getting ready for the end. You see, weight loss isn't just a matter of losing fat or muscle. It's a signal that the body is shifting its focus. Our digestive system, which once processed and absorbed food with ease, begins to slow down. Food, which used to be a source of comfort and pleasure, starts to lose its meaning. No matter how hard you try to eat, the desire is simply gone. Your body is no longer prioritizing digestion. Instead, it's focusing on keeping the most vital organs functioning. The body, in a sense, begins to shut down non-essential systems in order to protect what it can no longer sustain. Now, the frightening part is that this process can be slow. It doesn't happen overnight. In fact, it often begins months before death, sometimes about 2 to 4 months in advance. At first, the changes are subtle. You may notice a slight loss of appetite, but it's easy to dismiss. Then, over time, food becomes less appealing. Meals that once brought joy now seem like a chore. You might find yourself skipping meals without thinking much of it, but the reality is, Your body is no longer able to process or use the food in the way it did before. It's not just about not feeling hungry. It's that your digestive system is no longer capable of handling the intake. As this process continues, the weight loss becomes more noticeable. It's not like the weight loss you'd expect from dieting or exercise. It's something deeper. You're not actively trying to lose weight, yet your body is shedding pounds. It's as though your body is slowly wasting away, and it's hard to watch. You can try to force yourself to eat, but the food just doesn't seem to make a difference. Your body is simply too focused on shutting down the systems it no longer needs to survive. For many people, this can be one of the most difficult signs to accept. We're taught to focus on our weight, to diet, to exercise, to control how our bodies look and function. But when weight loss is no longer under our control, when food no longer offers comfort, it can be a wake-up call. This isn't just a sign of aging or a minor illness. It's your body's way of telling you that something much more serious is happening. It's a sign that your body is preparing for the end, and it's redirecting its energy in a way that signals survival. I know that facing this reality can be unsettling, even frightening. The idea that our bodies could be slowly shutting down, losing weight without effort, is not something we want to face. But here's the truth. If you or someone you know is experiencing unexplained weight loss along with a complete lack of appetite, it should not be ignored. This is not just a phase. This is a biological reality that should be taken seriously. Your body is giving you the chance to recognize that something is wrong. And it's urging you to pay attention before it's too late. In my personal experience, I've seen how people tend to overlook these signs. We're so used to ignoring the small cues our bodies give us. We push through fatigue, we power through hunger, and we convince ourselves that it's just a temporary issue. But the reality is, when your body starts losing weight involuntarily, and when food no longer has any appeal, it's a signal that things are changing in a way we can't ignore. What's more, the weight loss is often accompanied by a sense of disconnection from your body. You might start feeling as though your body is no longer yours to control. It's as if it's slipping away from you, little by little, and you can't do anything to stop it. And while this may sound grim, recognizing this as a sign of impending death doesn't mean giving up. On the contrary, it's a chance to act. By recognizing the signs early, you empower yourself to take action, whether that's seeking medical help, making important life decisions, or simply preparing for the inevitable with grace and dignity. The key to understanding unexplained weight loss is not to panic, but to acknowledge it for what it is. A message from your body that should not be ignored. It's a message that reminds us we are not invincible, that life is fragile, and that we must pay attention to the signs along the way. The sooner you recognize these signs, the more you can do to make the most of the time you have left. Whether it's spending more time with loved ones, getting your affairs in order, or simply accepting the reality of what's happening, recognizing unexplained weight loss as a warning sign is the first step toward taking control in a situation where control is often limited. So, If you or someone you love is experiencing this kind of weight loss, take it seriously. Don't brush it off as just another passing phase. Listen to your body, because it's speaking to you, and in doing so, you may be able to face what's coming with strength, understanding, and even peace of mind. As we approach the inevitable end of life, something fascinating happens within our minds. It's subtle, often unrecognized, but undeniably profound. Mental and psychological shifts start to occur, and it's these changes that are often misunderstood, even by the people closest to us. Our bodies may start to slow down, and the world around us may lose its once vibrant urgency. But what truly changes is our mindset, our way of thinking and feeling about everything we once held so tightly to. We've all experienced stress in our lives, work deadlines, family issues, and the pressure of day-to-day life. But when death is nearing, those concerns, which once seemed so crucial, begin to lose their grip on our attention. Things that once felt urgent no longer matter in the same way. Work deadlines that seemed unbreakable now feel trivial. Family disputes, financial stress, and even the drama of everyday life fade into the background. This detachment isn't about giving up, and it's certainly not about depression. It's something far deeper. It's the mind's way of preparing for the transition ahead. A psychological release as we begin to detach from the world we know, preparing for the world that awaits beyond. Now, for many families, this can be a difficult shift to interpret. A loved one who once cared deeply about their job, their responsibilities, or their family relationships might suddenly appear indifferent, even aloof. The shift can feel jarring, and it's easy to mistake this behavior for depression or even the early stages of dementia. Family members may become concerned, wondering if their loved one is losing their grip on reality. But in reality, this mental detachment isn't a mental illness. It's a natural part of the process of dying. It's the mind's way of finding peace and acceptance, preparing to let go of the earthly world and everything tied to it. This shift in mental focus can manifest in many ways. One of the most common signs is when a person begins to speak about deceased relatives as if they were still present. They might talk about loved ones who have already passed, as though they were in the room with them. These conversations can seem out of place, even eerie, but they're not signs of confusion or insanity. They are the person's mind's way of reconnecting with those who have already made the journey. It's as if the mind knows that it, too, will soon be taking that same journey, and so it begins to form a bridge. A kind of peaceful reconciliation with the idea of crossing over. Some people begin to become more philosophical during this time. What once seemed important, pursuing career goals, achieving success, keeping up with social expectations, now seems like a distant concern. The trivialities of life lose their hold, and a deeper understanding of the inevitable begins to emerge. The world feels smaller, quieter, and more distant, and for some, this mental shift can bring about a sense of serenity. It's as if the mind begins to free itself from the pressure of living in the world, ready to embrace whatever is to come next. I've seen this shift firsthand in people I've known, and it's remarkable how consistent it is. As death draws closer, there's a calmness that seems to settle over them. It's not a resignation, but a quiet acceptance. It's as though they've come to terms with the fact that their journey is coming to an end. And now, their mind is ready to let go. The way they talk, the way they look at the world, and the way they interact with others changes. They become less concerned with what used to be important, and instead, they seem more focused on what is beyond. They may even speak of the afterlife with a peaceful certainty, as if they've already made their peace with it. It's easy to misinterpret these changes as something more troubling, but in truth, they are nature's way of easing the transition. The body begins to slow down, the physical strength diminishes, but the mind, in a sense, becomes lighter, less burdened by the weight of the world. It's almost as if the mind knows that there's no need to fight anymore. The battles have already been fought, the struggles have already been overcome, and now it's simply time to surrender to the inevitable. I've often wondered about the complexity of these mental shifts. Why do some people seem to embrace the transition with such calm acceptance, while others struggle to the very end? It's one of the great mysteries of life. But what's clear is that when someone begins to detach mentally, when they start speaking of those who have passed with a sense of familiarity, or when they begin to talk about life in a more philosophical way, it's a powerful sign. It's not a sign of mental decline, but a sign that the body and mind are preparing for the final transition. And here's where I think we can find empowerment in this understanding. If you or someone you love begins to exhibit these mental and psychological shifts, don't panic, don't assume the worst. Instead, take it as a signal that the end is near, but that it's a natural, peaceful part of the process. The detachment isn't something to be feared. It's something to be respected. It's the mind's way of letting go, shedding the burdens that have been carried for a lifetime, and accepting the peaceful transition ahead. For families who witness these changes, it's important to approach them with patience and understanding. Instead of trying to bring the person back to reality, instead of trying to make them focus on what's left of this life, recognize that they are doing what they need to do, letting go. They are preparing to leave, and in doing so, they are teaching us something powerful: the importance of acceptance, of releasing what we cannot control, and of embracing the unknown with grace and dignity. So, if you notice a loved one detaching mentally, speaking about those who have passed, or contemplating life in a way that seems unfamiliar, understand that this is a sign that death is near. It's not something to fear. It's part of the natural progression, and in many ways, it's an opportunity to witness a profound moment of peace. This mental transformation, while unsettling at times, is part of the beauty of life's journey. It's the mind's way of preparing for the final step, one that we all must take, but one that is best taken with acceptance, peace, and love. As death approaches, the body undergoes a series of profound physical changes. These changes are not sudden, rather, they unfold slowly, often imperceptibly, as the body begins to prepare itself for the inevitable. One of the most striking signs of this process is the way blood circulation shifts. As the body begins to conserve energy, it redirects blood flow to the vital organs, the heart, the brain, and the lungs. At the same time, it begins to shut down non-essential systems, including those responsible for maintaining skin temperature and color. This process is deeply unsettling, yet it is nature's way of preparing the body for what is to come. One of the first things you might notice is a change in skin color, particularly in the hands, feet, and sometimes the face. The skin may begin to take on a pale, ashen hue, often with a marble-like pattern of discoloration. These patterns can appear as spots or streaks, a telltale sign that the body is no longer prioritizing the surface level of its functions. As blood flow decreases in the extremities, the skin starts to lose its healthy pinkish tones, becoming almost translucent in appearance. This isn't just a cosmetic change. It's a clear indication that the body is no longer able to sustain circulation to areas that are deemed less essential to survival. In addition to these skin changes, you may also notice a significant drop in body temperature. Cold extremities, particularly the hands and feet, become a common occurrence. This is a direct result of the body's efforts to conserve energy. As blood is shunted away from the limbs and redirected to the vital organs, the extremities become cold and pale. For those who are closely observing a loved one, this can be a deeply alarming sight, an unmistakable sign that the body is beginning its final shutdown process. The coldness of the skin, particularly in the hands and feet, can become extreme, almost to the point where it feels unnatural. It's as though the body is losing its ability to regulate temperature. The once warm and familiar touch of a loved one's hand becomes something distant, a stark contrast to what we are used to. The loss of warmth is a deeply emotional experience, reminding us of the inevitable distance that's growing between life and death. But the changes don't stop at skin discoloration and temperature shifts. Breathing patterns also begin to change as death nears. For some, the breath becomes irregular, shallow, and labored. There may be long pauses between breaths, creating an unsettling rhythm that can leave family members holding their breath in anticipation. This type of irregular breathing is known as Cheyne-Stokes breathing, and it's a well-documented phenomenon that occurs when the body begins to prepare for its final stages. The pattern typically involves periods of deep breathing followed by short periods of no breathing at all. A rhythm that can seem almost unnatural, even haunting, for those who are watching. These pauses in breathing can feel like an eternity. It's as if the body is giving one last effort to hold on, only to let go again, over and over. For families witnessing these changes, it can be incredibly difficult to watch. The changes are dramatic, not just in appearance but in the very essence of how the person's body functions. It's a stark reminder of how fragile life is, how quickly things can change. The loss of warmth, the fading color in the skin, and the irregularity of breath all signal that the body is shutting down non-essential systems. It's a process that, while often slow, is ultimately irreversible. In these final stages, the body is working to preserve only what's necessary for survival: the brain, the heart, and the lungs. All other functions, such as digestion and movement, become secondary. The body's focus is no longer on keeping up with the demands of daily life, but rather on conserving enough energy to sustain life for just a little longer. It's as if the body is saying goodbye to the world it once knew, gradually closing off the systems that are no longer needed. And yet, even as these physical changes become more pronounced, there's something almost peaceful in the process. It's as if the body knows what's happening and is making its own preparations for the end. There's a quiet dignity in the way the body begins to release its hold on life. The skin, pale and cold, becomes a reflection of the journey that is nearing completion. The irregular breathing, though unsettling, is a sign that the body is no longer struggling to survive in the same way. Instead, it's transitioning, quietly, to the next phase of existence. I've witnessed these physical changes firsthand, and I can tell you that they are not easy to process. They make the reality of death undeniable. The changes in skin color, the coldness of the hands and feet, the irregularity of the breath. These signs are all part of the body's way of preparing for what comes next. They are signals that the body is shutting down non-essential systems, focusing its energy on the parts that matter most for survival. But even in the face of such dramatic changes, there's an undeniable sense of acceptance. The body may be giving up its warmth, its color, and its breath, but in doing so, it's releasing what's no longer needed. It's a quiet surrender, a final act of letting go. And while it may be difficult for those who are watching to understand this process, it's important to recognize it for what it is: the body's natural way of preparing for the end. For anyone who is going through this with a loved one, I would say this: take the time to appreciate the quiet moments. The physical changes may be difficult to witness, but they are also a powerful reminder of the fragility of life. These changes, though dramatic, are part of the cycle of life and death. The body is simply following its natural course, preparing itself for what's to come. It's a process that, in many ways, reflects the deep wisdom of nature itself. And while it can be heartbreaking to watch, there's also beauty in the surrender, an acceptance of the inevitable that can bring a sense of peace to both the person and those who love them. So, if you notice these physical changes, cold extremities, pale skin, irregular breathing, don't ignore them. They are signs that the body is preparing to release itself from the struggles of life. These signs may be difficult to accept, but they are also part of the beauty of life's final chapter. And if we can learn to accept them, we can help guide our loved ones through this final transition with grace, understanding, and peace. There comes a moment, quiet, unmistakable, yet impossible to fully explain, when the body begins its final conversation with the world. It no longer speaks through words or gestures we're used to. Instead, it shifts into something far more primal, more intimate. In these final stages, communication becomes subtle, almost sacred. And if you're paying close enough attention, you can feel it. not just see it, not just hear it, you feel it, in the air, in the silence, in the stillness of a room that suddenly seems to hold its breath. One of the first things that may catch you off guard is the presence of a distinct scent. It's not a foul smell or something medical, it's something different. A faint, unfamiliar odor that seems to come from nowhere, and yet it permeates everything. This is not just your imagination. As the organs begin their shutdown process, certain chemicals and byproducts are released, creating a unique scent that, once experienced, is never forgotten. It's as though the body, in its wisdom, is signaling a shift not just in function, but in presence. It is stepping back from the physical world, and it lets you know, even if you can't explain how. Then, there's the sound, the one no one wants to talk about, but everyone who's been there knows too well, the death rattle. It happens when fluid builds up in the back of the throat and the person no longer has the strength to clear it. The breath becomes a wet, gurgling sound, rhythmic but erratic, haunting but strangely peaceful. It's not a sign of pain. In fact, most people experiencing it are no longer fully conscious, but to those who sit beside them, it can feel like the body is crying out one last time. And yet, it's not a scream, it's not even a whisper, it's just a final note in a long song, one that's about to fade into silence. Sometimes, during these final hours, the person may begin to move unexpectedly. Their arms might raise, their hands might gesture toward someone only they can see. Their lips might form names or words that no one in the room understands. These movements aren't random, they come from somewhere deep within, a place that logic and science haven't quite touched. And though it might seem strange, many people describe feeling an overwhelming sense of presence in those moments, as if someone or something has come to accompany the dying person across that invisible threshold. And then comes the part that breaks your heart wide open: terminal lucidity. It's as mysterious as it is beautiful. A person who has been unresponsive, incoherent, or even in a coma for days may suddenly open their eyes, speak clearly, smile, or recognize loved ones. They may say things with startling clarity, make profound statements, or offer a final, "I love you." It's a moment that feels like a miracle. But it's not a recovery, it's a gift, a final spark from a mind that knows it's about to let go. I've seen this with my own eyes, and no matter how many times it happens, it never fails to stop time. In that brief window, something sacred enters the room. The dying are not confused. They are clear, present, real. And what they choose to say in that moment can stay with you for the rest of your life. These are not random occurrences. They are the body's way of saying goodbye, not just biologically but spiritually, emotionally. It's a closing ritual that no science can replicate and no human can fake. And if you're there for it, truly present, you might find yourself understanding something deeper than any textbook could ever teach. You realize that this isn't about fear. It's about grace, about release, about the final thread being untied so that soul and body can part ways. Being present for these final communications is not just about witnessing death. It's about witnessing transformation. In that moment, everything superficial falls away. The ego, the accomplishments, the regrets, the fears, they're stripped bare. What remains is pure human connection, that final hand squeeze, that last word, that gaze that lingers just a second too long before the eyes close. It is the moment when nothing else matters except love, truth, and the raw essence of what it means to be human. To me, this is where the most profound form of strength is found, not in denying death, not in fearing it, but in choosing to be fully present for it. To sit beside someone who is dying and to recognize their final signals not with panic but with understanding is an act of immense courage. It's an offering of peace to someone who is surrendering their last breath. And that kind of presence, it changes you. When you hear the rattle, feel the coolness of their hand, or smell that faint shift in the air, don't run from it. Lean in. Listen. If they speak, answer. If they reach, hold them. This is their final language. It doesn't require translation. It requires attention, compassion, stillness. These signs aren't here to scare us. They're here to prepare us. They are the final expressions of life, raw, honest, and unfiltered, and in their strange beauty lies the opportunity to say the things we've held back, to offer comfort, to forgive, to be forgiven, or simply to say thank you. There is power in recognizing the sacredness of these moments. They remind us that death, while often painful and heartbreaking, can also be deeply humanizing. It strips away everything except what really matters, and that, in itself, is a kind of clarity we rarely get to experience. So when the signs come, the scent, the breath, the unexpected words, don't look away. You are standing on holy ground, not because death is noble or easy, but because it is real. And in its final moments, it gives us one last chance to do what we came here to do. Love each other fully, honestly, and without hesitation. This is not a time for fear. It's a time for presence, for grace, for quiet courage. These final communications aren't just signs of ending. They are invitations to witness the most mysterious, most intimate threshold we'll ever know. And if we choose to answer that invitation, even just once, we carry its wisdom with us for the rest of our lives.